Hi everyone, my name is Marina and I'm a fourth year psychology student at the University of Alberta. I'm actually applying to medical school this year. And last summer I did my research with the Division of Geriatric Medicine here at the U of A. The title of our project is Managing Incontinence, a community-based participatory research approach. So what is urinary incontinence? UI is the complaint of involuntary leakage of urine. And as a psychology student, I'm very passionate about supporting older adults with UI because it is associated with a substantial impact on quality of life through shame and isolation and depression. Here you can see the prevalence of UI in the Canadian population, which is 10%. As you can see on these graphs to the side, it does increase with age, and it's higher in females than in males. You can probably guess why. Although some studies estimate that the prevalence is up to 50%, very few of these people consult their healthcare providers for help. Most choose to suffer in silence. And this is due to the shame that's associated with this condition. As well, many older adults believe that there's nothing that their healthcare provider can do to help, and it is a normal part of aging, which is not true. Most UI research is driven by researchers and lacks the patient perspective. This is why we engaged in a community-based participatory research approach. So you can see our research team here, myself on the left, part of our UI advisory group in the middle, and my project coordinator, Saima, here on the right. So you may have heard of this approach before. It promotes an intentional and equitable involvement of community members and researchers in all aspects of the process. So, how did we form our advisory group? Well, we approached patients and hung posters at continence clinics, physiotherapy clinics, seniors activity centers, healthy aging seminars, as well as contacting people from prior studies. And we offered them the opportunity to engage in our research as co-researchers on our team rather than as participants or subjects. And here are some of the characteristics of our advisory team. We started off with 8 members and 2 did drop. So in the end, we had an even split of 3 men and 3 women. Originally, the inclusion criteria for our study was age 65 plus. However, we did have some younger people who wanted to join, and we didn't want to limit the expression of their voice. After forming the advisory team, we consulted with the members and determined that it is best to drop the age limit down to 50 plus, as long as the participants identify as older adults, in order not to exclude anyone's voice. The objective of our project was to gain the perspective of older adults in formulating a research agenda that would answer questions and improve their experience with UI. In order to do this, we first recruited the UI advisory group. Then, after forming this group, we held a focus group to understand their experiences with UI and to gather their ideas. Next, we conducted the nominal group technique, again with the advisory team. And this is sort of like a structured focus group. So as you can see below, there are 5 steps. And the final step includes ranking the priorities from the focus group and the nominal group technique. So after ranking, we developed a list of 20 research, outreach, and educational priorities. And we discussed this list with the advisory team to ensure that none of the priorities that they thought were very important were overlooked and excluded. And if they were, then we reorganized this list to include them again. Then we developed a national survey using the priorities above for the Delphi consensus method. And the Delphi consensus is basically just a method to reach a decision for a group using a panel of experts. So in this case, the decision was determining priorities for a UI research agenda, and our panel of experts were community-dwelling older adults with UI. The Delphi consensus took place in 2 rounds. Following each round, we met with the advisory team to consult them about the interpretation of the results from the rounds and how to analyze them to determine the inclusion criteria, what to include in the report. So we consulted them with every step, and that is reflected by this member checkbox down here. So here are some of the characteristics of the Delphi participants. As you can see, we did have some younger people who wanted to share their voice through this survey. Following the final Delphi consensus round, 11 priorities were identified. So as you can see, a lot of these priorities are already quite well researched. For example, relationship between physical activity and UI, causes, improving sleep quality, lifestyle management of UI, cure and management strategies, as well as available products. So although we set out to create a research agenda that would increase scientific literature around UI, most of the questions reflected a big gap in knowledge between available research and patient understanding, which means that translational research is required. More explicitly, the UI advisory group and the Delphi participants identified the educational resources and information priority. So they want us to develop more educational materials so that they can better understand their condition. Some limitations of our study are the stigma that surrounds UI. So because of this stigma, a lot of people are reluctant to join something like the advisory group. And we address this by developing a confidential national survey. As well, some of the survey participants may have misunderstood some of the terminology within the survey. And we did address this issue by developing the survey in consultation with the advisory group to ensure that patient-centered language was used. However, they may have been slightly biased towards more complex language because of their prior communication with us. As well, there was some sampling bias introduced into the study because the survey was distributed via email, both rounds. We did address this by offering to mail the survey to people who did not have access to an email or computers, but few participants took advantage of this. So what are the next steps? Well, this summer I conducted a rapid literature review to address the most prominent questions identified. Then I developed practice guidelines, educational material, and currently we're on this step where the advisory team will be assessing this educational material to ensure that it is useful and understandable for other older adults. As well, we should conduct more qualitative research to better understand the experiences of older adults with UI in order to support them. To conclude, I would like to give a big thank you to my advisory team. Ernie, Rita, Shirley, Sam, Jean, and Yari all contributed so much to this project. And because they couldn't be here today, one of the members would like to share a quote about her experience. She said that the group enabled her to learn and share UI challenges with others, and that there are options. I would also like to thank my principal investigator, Dr. Wag, and my project coordinator, Saima, for continuously supporting me throughout this project and for giving me this research opportunity. Any questions? I would love to hear from you at this email. I would also love to see you at the virtual Q&A session. Thank you for listening and have a great day.